Hello and welcome to my first video on the channel, guys. I hope you are doing exceptional. I know I am. I'm very excited for this today because my goal is to show you how I ended up learning how to solo Angerforge in the most efficient way I believe possible to not only get my own Hand of Justice trinket, but also eventually offering the runs to other players and using it as a gold farm for myself, which can be very lucrative because as a rogue you can make in between 120 to 170 gold per hour doing these runs. So what I'm going to show you today is a way of doing these runs as fast as you can, but also how you can do them without too much pressure, because it is a harder farm. Angerforge hits pretty hard. I like to see him as you would see a Dark Souls or Elden Ring boss, where the boss can be quite unpredictable. He can hit super hard and almost do your entire HP bar in a second, and most of all it requires a bit of determination, I would say, because you are going to die a few times trying these runs, and it should be expected, and you should not be too rushed to master this strategy. That said, I have two parts for this video. The first is going to be to show you some consumables and spec you need for these runs, and the second part is going to be some footage I took with a rogue that I helped running into Angerforge for his own Hand of Justice trinket. Funny enough, it dropped on the very first run for him, so I was thrilled. But do note that what I'm showing you today, while there's going to be some new stuff, the main strategy which is the ledge strategy that's been used for many years now, is what I used for this run. So I'm not pretending to invent or create anything crazy special here, but I am going to give you a few tips and tricks and things that might really help you out making these runs efficient, to go from a 15-20 minute run that can be tedious to a 8-minute run that can be super fast, quick, and great for your time investment in the game, especially if you are working a daily job at the end of the day. So let's get into the meat of the subject. First and foremost, there's going to be one thing I'm going to say flat out, is that if you do these runs, I do recommend having world buffs. World buffs are crazy good and efficient for these runs. You don't need to have all 6 like I have right now. I simply have them for the raid that I intend to do tomorrow. But at the end of the day, I always use 1, 2, or 3 of these world buffs, like an Ixia Ren or the Sunflower buff from Fellwood, because they do remove a lot of problems from these runs and help you do a ton of damage, and at the end of the day, do these runs as fast as you can. Especially now on Anniversary Realms in 2025, they changed the boons to be 1 gold per, which is very cheap, so don't cheap out on them. They are very accessible, and they allow you to have these buffs anytime you want, and they drop quite often too. So at some point they might get rarer, to be honest, so maybe doing these runs with buffs won't be as possible as it is right now. But what I'm showing you today is still going to be doable without buffs. I've done it many times too. It's just going to be a bit harder and probably going to require a few more consumables to do so. So at the end of the day, the first consumable that is essential in my eyes is going to be the limited invulnerability potion. Why? Very simple. Although I do know some people use the major healing potions for these runs, I do think the limited invulnerability potion is better, because it is going to basically just give you more HP, because it makes you invincible against Angerforge for a whole 6 seconds. And as I was saying, Angerforge hits like a truck, and he can be unpredictable, so sometimes if he crits 2 or 3 times in a row, he can do it like 70% of your HP bar, just like that. So starting the fight with him with this lip potion here is very nice, because it just gives you all that breathing time to set up the fight and have just a whole easy time with him. So I do recommend that one. Do note that it does share a cooldown with a healing potion, so if you do use these lips, as we say, the healing potion is going to be a no-no, because it's going to put your lip on a global cooldown, so do know that. After that, you're going to want to use some rune cloth bandages, some food to heal yourself up in between fights with the trash before Angerforge, but also during the fight with Angerforge himself. So having a lot of them is useful. I use about 6 to 10 bandage per run in general, so bring a good amount of them if you intend to do a lot of these runs. That is what I would recommend. And obviously arrows, bullets, some poisons, that should be a given, but still do consider them. They are useful for any PvE content. And lastly, the last optional, the last items that I would recommend, I would say, are optional items. They become less optional though if you intend to do these runs without world buffs, namely the Thistle Tea. Thistle Tea for me is something that I consider a lot for non-buffs run, because it's going to allow you to make the best use of your Blade Flurry cooldown, basically, allowing you to do a lot more damage in that window and basically make you having a safer time with the trash packs before Angerforge. For Angerforge himself, the Thistle Tea is not really necessary, but it can come in handy, so do consider it. And lastly, the healing potions, although it does share a cooldown with the lip potion, you can still use them every now and then if you're in a bind and you're in trouble. Of course, it is always better to use a healing potion than dying, so do consider that. The one thing that is better than a healing potion, though, I think, is a root tuber. What is a root tuber? If you don't know, the root tuber is an interactive plant that pretty much is the same as the Sunflower Serenade buff you get in Fellwood, and you get also these root tubers in Fellwood. They are basically a superior healing potion, but the key thing with them is that it does not share cooldown with any other healing potion in the game. So that means you could use a major or superior healing pot plus a tuber back to back, both in PvP, in raid, in any situation, and it is gonna heal you a ton and basically just save your life many times over. So having tubers like in your bags at any time is always a good thing, so I do recommend them. And that is pretty much it, I would say, for the consumables that you really do need for these runs. With that being said, sorry, I'm gonna go over the spec that you need for these runs. So still to this day in 2025, the combat spec is gonna be your bread and butter for these runs. It is the best spec, I think, to do these runs reliably, and mostly the easier spec also, let's say that. But it is still possible to do it in dagger specs. I've seen rogues do it, and it is possible. So see what suits you best, and at the end of the day, you're still going to be able to kill Angerforge with or without your double swords. I do still bring a subtlety spec with that said, because you have access to camouflage, which makes the run from the entrance to Angerforge a bit faster, and the preparation that is, I would say, not essential, but close to essential spell that you need for these runs, because there's a specific situation I'm going to show later in the video that can happen quite often and force you to reset the fight with Angerforge with a Vanish. So if you only have one Vanish with without dual spec, while it's possible to do these runs, if you have a bad RNG, as I like to say, and you encounter this situation, you're gonna have to Vanish and wait for your Vanish to come back off CD for 4 or 5 minutes before you attempt the pull again on Angerforge, which can take time and be not as efficient, obviously. Other than that, the specs are pretty conventional. I'm nothing special here. The specs are the ones you're going to see on most rogues in game and on Wowhead, for example. So you can look that up online. There's nothing very tricky or some specific talent aside preparation that I would recommend for these runs. Classic spec will do the trick. And with that said, let's get into the footage I have for you, which is the last part of this video today. I'm going to cover this video, which is a video I took with a very nice rogue. His name is Miasbong. He was looking to get his own Hand of Justice, and I decided to help him out. Obviously, he helped me too, since he paid me for these runs. And well, we had a good time since that trinket dropped on the first run, so that was some great luck there. So having unlocked the door, I'm making my way up. As you can see here, I'm avoiding the fire elementals that you see in that part of the dungeon. They do have a fire aura around them, so if you path too close to them, they're gonna take you out of your stealth and force you to use a Vanish to get back into your stealth mode. So Not great, try to avoid that, so stay away from them and make your way up to Angerforge. If you want to use minor speed boots, go ahead. At the end of the day, I discovered that is the path that travels around Angerforge always has the exact same path and the same timing every time you enter the dungeon, so it doesn't really matter if you get faster to Angerforge. The path is going to be the same and give you just enough time to get into the right spec, poison your weapons if you need it, and prepare for your 2 trash packs before Angerforge. So here I'm going into my combat spec. I'm going to poison my blades, make sure I have the right gear online, and I'm going to make my way towards the stairs. As you can see here, the fire destroyer is making his way around. I'm going to pause here really quick because I think it's an interesting thing to note. Most people I've seen online do kill this fire destroyer. If you want to do so, feel free. In my, again, humble opinion, I don't think it is worth it to waste the time killing this destroyer, because these destroyers do quite a bit of damage, as well as they can do a fireball every now and then that does a third if not half of your HP bar, and they require at least a cooldown or 2 to kill most of the times. So if you do kill that path, you might have to wait for your whole cooldowns to come back for one of the trash packs after that, and then for Angerforge. So basically what it means is killing this path is going to make your run about 3, 4, 5 minutes longer than it needs to be. And as long as you're paying attention to this strategy honestly, and paying attention to the path itself, you should be totally okay not having to kill it. So let's continue here. I'm going down the stairs and I'm going to go straight into unbooting my world buffs to get ready to do this first pack at the top of the stairs. They can be 2 marshals, 2 dragoons, or a marshal and a dragoon. Doesn't really matter. Both are kind of the same, though the dragoons do a bit more damage than the marshals, I will say. But what I'm always going to do is sap one of them, bring the other to the middle of the stairs, because when they reach 15%, they're going to start running to their friends, and we don't want them to have any friends. So you want to kill them where they stand, middle of the stairs. When they start running, it gives you time to either kidney shot them or blind them, whatever. You just stun them so they don't run away, and then you proceed to kill the other martial guard here with your blades. After that, I'm going to heal up and prepare for the next pack. If they do heal, obviously you're going to kick them to avoid a heal, and I am done with those 2. Now, before attempting this next pack, which is the last pack you're going to kill before Angerforge, this pack, do note, is harder than, in some cases, harder than Angerforge, I believe. Especially if you don't use world buffs, this pack will require Thistletea if you want to do it the easy way. Because you're going to sap one of the 2 guards, so either dragoons or marshals, and you're going to tackle the destroyer plus the other guard, basically. So with that being said, the small thing that you can note with the dragoons is that at some point I tried kiting this pack towards the stairs, thinking that it would make my life easier with the potential path coming back, but do note that dragoons are always better to be fought exactly where they stand, because when you start kiting a dragoon, most of the time, if you're too fast, they're going to start shooting at you and stand where they are instead of following you. And that can be pretty bad if you're in a blade flurry, basically, and they stand where they are and you're just attacking the fire destroyer. You're wasting precious seconds of your blade flurry in that window. So my recommendation, just sap one of the 2 here and fight the other 2 just where they stand, and you should be totally fine here. If you do have no world buffs, use your Thistletea. So your Blade Flurry, you use all your energy, you Thistletea, and you do it again, and it's going to give you an easier time to kill this pack. So here we go. The small thing also that I'd like to add here is that, as you're going to see, I'm going to attack the guard before the destroyer every time, because the guards do die faster than the destroyers, and if they start running, I can kill them quicker that way than I would if I targeted the destroyer before the other one. So here I'm going to kill the guard, and I'm going to finish up the destroyer afterwards. Here, I engaged the other Dragoon straight after the other two. You can do it. If you do enough damage, you totally can, as you see here, but do know that you could definitely bandage up while the other guy is still sapped before you engage him. The same goes for the two marshals at the top of the stairs. You can bandage in between to make sure you're full HP before the fight. It is up to you. Having done these runs many times, I know I can do them safely like this. So before going to the ledge here, I'm gonna show you one last thing with this pack that is interesting to note. Is before getting to the ledge here, as you see the stairs, I have ample time here. The path is not making his way back just yet. If I was fighting this pack and I had a hard time, right, and I didn't have buffs, whatever, you can use the terrain to your advantage quite a lot in this room. Namely, you can use the stairs here to drop down and make this path around the stairs to help you out. So let's say I kill the Dragoon here, the Destroyer is still alive, and I'm 20% HP. Oh, danger. I'm in danger. Basically, I just drop down the stairs. I'm gonna gouge beforehand the Destroyer, and it's gonna give me a 6-7 second window to bandage up and finish up the Destroyer, basically. So that can be a trick you can use. Just make sure you don't pull the pack at the bottom of the stairs, obviously. And the other thing you can use is obviously the ledge trick here that you would use for Angerforge. You could gouge the Fire Destroyer, you could go up the ledge, and that would make the pack go all the way around the room and give you all the time in the world to bandage up on the corner here. So the same would happen if, let's say, you're too slow to kill this pack, the path is coming back up. You could just see that in advance if you're paying attention, and you're going to the ledge and making this pack go all the way around so that is nowhere near the path. So in both of these scenarios, both the guards here and the guards here, you can kite the top of the stairs to the bottom of the stairs for the path to not be in your way, and you can also kite this back all around the room to not be in your way if the path is around. So in both of these scenarios, you're totally cool without having to kill this path anytime soon. So that is all I'm gonna say with that. So I'm gonna do the little jump up the ledge. For those who don't know, this jump has been done for many years now. It is important to master it. Basically, it's gonna be a bread and butter for this run. But honestly, once you've mastered this jump, it's gonna be very easy to do it reliably. But it's gonna take a bit of practice, obviously. And before I engage with Angerforge here, I'm gonna say one thing. So when I pull Angerforge, obviously I'm gonna use my bow to aggro this pack here, and what they are gonna do technically is go up the stairs all around the room, and they're gonna reach me eventually. That is the strategy here. But what can happen, and this is why you want to have multiple vanishes accessible just in case, is that sometimes, I'm gonna see here, I'm looking around for the path, and the path is nowhere near. So right here, the stairs, when Angerforge and his guards go around here, for some weird reasons, sometimes it is RNG, he's gonna go and take a larger path around the stairs, and that will aggro the left Fire Destroyer right here. And it's gonna be random. Everybody I know have encountered this little thing, and obviously since you're soloing this, you're not gonna want to engage in Angerforge plus a Fire Destroyer at the same time. It is not a fun time. So if that does happen, you vanish and you reset the fight. You could go subtlety, preparation, reset your vanish, go back in combat spec, and you're ready to go again. So that is why you want a dual spec. That said, I have a nice trick for you today. What I've discovered doing these runs is that there's a way to make it way less likely for this pathing from the guards to be large and rather be sharp around the corner so that they more than likely don't aggro the Destroyer. So the trick will be as follows. I'm going to shoot the guard, and I'm going to run straight at the wall like this. Running at the wall makes it so I'm not in their line of sight anymore, and for some weird reason, doing that makes it that they take a sharper turn down the stairs here, and this way I make it less likely for this Destroyer to aggro with them. Still, every now and then he does aggro, so it is always good to have your vanish available for that, but that little trick here really does help to know. So that is what I'm going to say about that. So here I'm just killing the two guards with the guns while Angerforge is making his way around the room. I'm going to finish up by dropping down. I have all the time in the world to go back up now that he's so close to me. So this jump right here Very important. I'm gonna go back and just explain this jump really quickly, because there's two parts to this jump. The first part is right here, when I'm not completely, I'm so sorry, when I'm not completely up the ledge, right here, this is the first part you want to master, because from there, you can still shoot Angerforge basically from that little spot, and you're going to see later on in the video. But as soon as you're up the ledge, he's going to start running at you. So that is what you need to know. Here, I'm just going to pop my Blade Flurry, finish up the rest of the guards, and engage in some melee action with Angerforge. It is definitely safe to do some melees at him and get him down as quick as you can, but as soon as you are near 50%, stop attacking him. Drop down the ledge and reset, heal up. That is what I was telling you earlier in the video. Never greed. It is important to really remember that, because you're gonna see sometimes you greed and he's gonna do some quick hits back to back, and he can definitely kill you without you seeing it coming. So the key is to use your bow when you're low HP, and when you have full HP you can melee him, and rinse and repeat. When I have my bandage on cooldown, I'm gonna use my bow usually, and once my bandage is back up, I'm gonna use my bandage to regen and be as healthy as I can to do some melees at him. So here I'm using my bow. This is the jump I was talking. You see I'm using the first part of the jump here to shoot him when he's on his way around, and then I jump on top to shoot at him again, and I can do that all over again. So that's the little trick you need to master. So here I'm cranking up more melees at him. I use my combo points. I'm doing lots of damage to him. If you didn't have world buffs, I would recommend keeping by that point at 50-55%. Keep your combo points to initiate a big eviscerate on him, a 5 combo eviscerate once he's at 40%. But since I have world buffs, it doesn't really matter. Honestly, you can just go and use a 1, 2, or 3 combo points for a slice and dice and engage with the rest of your rotation. It's still going to be fine. But here I'm slowly preparing to engage with him, because the key number you're gonna want to remember here is 43%. Why 43%? Because if you do crit him with your arrows like I did right here, a crit will usually do about 2% of his HP. And if you bring him from 43 to 41%, 41% is where his helpers are going to come and help him basically. So when that happens, and I'm going to stop the video right here, you need to understand that once the helpers are out, it is do or die. You are killing him or you're done with the run. Why? Is because the helpers do not ever despawn. Once they're there, they're not going away. So whether, I don't know, you were not ready, you decided to engage him, your adrenaline rush is not good yet, and you decide to vanish, or you unfortunately die and you have to run back to the dungeon. Well, if the aids, the helpers basically have arrived, they're still going to be there, and that is going to be a big problem, because you obviously cannot do Angerforge with all of these guys around. So if that does happen, I'm sad to announce that you're going to have to get out of the dungeon and reset the whole thing. So that is why once he's at 44, 43, prepare for a last arrow or two, depending on if you crit or not, and be prepared to engage him. Have your adrenaline rush ready. That is what you're going to want to do. So here I'm preparing, still waiting for my adrenaline rush. So I am at 3400 HP right now, which is decent to start a fight with him since I have the buffs. But without buffs, I would recommend strongly to have your full HP bar available just in case. So I still have a 30-second. I am slowly making him go around. I will forward a bit to the point where my adrenaline rush is ready. So this is where I'm going to engage him. I'm going to do last one arrow. Turns out it was not a crit, so I could have done one more, but better be safe than sorry. And here I'm going to unfold with everything. So here what I did is I used my limited invulnerability potion first with my blood fury here to just make sure I have everything online. And these 6 precious seconds are going to allow me to use my slice and dice, my adrenaline rush, and everything. And I'm going to follow that up straight with an evasion, basically. So with that said, what comes up is simply a normal rotation. As long as you do decent damage, especially with buffs, you're gonna kill him in under 20 seconds and you're good to go. And once you're done, basically you can drop down the ledge. As long as the helpers have not seen you, they are not in fight with you, so you don't have to vanish after Angerforge unless they're on top of you, obviously. You can just drop down, change back to your subtlety spec, and you're gonna be good to leave the dungeon. Here, thankfully, we were really lucky. The Hand of Justice dropped on his very first run, so grats Miasmong, that was a big drop, and we're always happy to see that. So do not hesitate. If you want some tips, you can hit me up in game on Night Slayer Anniversary Realm. Otherwise, you can comment on the video. Do give me your feedback. I'm going to make sure to read everything to have an idea of what I could do better in these videos in the future. But I enjoyed doing these runs so much, and I enjoy even more showing other people how to do it themselves. Is it good for business? No, but I don't really care. It's just a fun thing to do. But I hope this helped you out. I hope you're able now to tackle this this boss by yourself, and don't hesitate again to hit me up if you have any questions. On that note, I'm going to wish you good luck and have a very nice rest of the day. Thank you guys. Bye.